like most people, I really can't start my day without a decent cup of coffee. And that's what I'm going to have here from Market Lane Coffee. Kana, could I have a latte to go, please? Excellent. Cheers. Now we can go. Oh, really, this old motor does not start without my little hit of caffeine. Plums at the moment are in season. They're abound, they're plentiful, and so I'm going to do a spiced plum tart, which is really simple and I'm sure you'll enjoy making at home. So where to start? We've got to make our tart bases. So I'm going to do something a little bit different here. It's a riff on a baklava. So I'm using, they're back. Geez, they love their forklifts around here. Beep, 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 all day long. So this recipe is a riff on baklava. So I'm using phyllo pastry, which is really thin pastry, wafer thin. And we're just going to take about 6 sheets in total to make one tart, not whole sheets, I'll show you. I'm just going to cut the phyllo pastry into about a third. And then each third, we can just put that to the side. Now you want to wrap that really well in cling film. Set that aside, put it back in the fridge. Unfortunately, once you've opened it, it doesn't last for too much, and when you freeze it, it gets a little bit crumbly. So we're just going to cut the phyllo pastry into little squares, about yay big. Okay, a little bit of fuel. Feel like Popeye. Have my coffee, ready to go. One sheet, it's wafer thin. I've actually made this by hand. It's so hard. Rolling, stretching. I've actually seen it made in a similar pastry made in Morocco. It's called waka pastry or fouille de brique. And it's stretched by hand on a really oily board until it's so wafer thin and elasticy. And then the ladies take it and they sort of put it over a balloon made of terracotta that's heated from below, and it cooks it. And then they take it off and they use that to make bistia, North African, fairly similar to phyllo, but not quite as light and delicate. Okay, so now we just brush each sheet of phyllo with butter, and then we just take the phyllo half turn, so you've got that kind of Star of David effect. A little bit of butter, coat the phyllo pastry with butter. The butter makes it nice and crispy and flaky when it's cooked. So you're kind of creating these laminations, these layers, layer upon layer. And again, another half turn. So we've got all these kind of little points, and we're going to then simply lifting up the edges like that, press it into our little rings. Now, if you haven't got rings at home, you can use small cake tins or maybe, I don't know, a small bowl. But these little crumpet rings are great. Buy some, you get them at supermarkets, some cooking stores will have them. So you can see a nice little tart base with these frilly little edges. I've got a little spice mix of brown sugar and crushed walnut, and I'm just going to sprinkle that into the bottom of this layer, like so. And then we repeat that process one more time. So another 3 layers of pastry. We brush it all the way out to the edge. Another little sheet. Again, do a half a turn, like so. Brush it. One more. Lucky last. Another little half turn of the pastry. Finally, one more brush of butter. And we take it over to our little tart case. We're going to put that on top of the first 3 layers with the crumb of nut and sugar in between. Just with your thumbs, push it into the edges. And there we have a little tart mold. It's all ready to go. So we repeat that. You do it about 4 times to make 4. If you're cooking for 2, do it twice. If you're cooking for 1, do it once. So this pastry, we just get rid of. It's no good, it's not gonna last. So now, we pop these in the oven, about 180 degrees, and they won't take too long. Probably about 5-10 minutes. We just wanna cook them until they're golden brown on the outside and the tops, and in the middle, there should be just a little bit crisp. Then we take them out of the oven and we cool them. We serve these ones cold. I need more coffee. This is such a hard recipe to do. So we're going to stew our plums now. I love plums. They're full of beautiful vitamins, but flavours. They're sweet and sharp. They're everything that like an autumnal fruit should be. Okay, so quite literally, we've got our plums. We've taken the seeds out into our pan. Oh, just take that off the heat. Sautéing them, not stewing them. The zest of one orange, the juice of orange, star anise. Plum and star anise, a beautiful combination. Very Asian in inspiration. So plum sauce, star anise. And as soon as I put that in, I can smell the aromas of those spices. So, oh, that was far too hot, so I'm gonna put it on a lower heat. We just need this to happen slowly. A little bit of sugar, just chuck that in there like that. We'll get our little mixer, here we are. And we're just gonna let the heat, the low heat from the stove, warm those, the apple juice, the orange juice, sorry. Silly me, I haven't obviously had enough coffee this morning. And we're just gonna let the sugar, the orange juice, the zest, the spice, melt together slowly, low heat. The moisture will come out of the plums and they'll just start to stew and bubble away in their own juices. We don't want them to fully break down. We still want a little bit of texture, but we need the fruit to soften. I wish we had smell-o-vision. You could smell the orange zest with the plums working, that star anise, the aromas coming through. Can you see the way that's starting to break down and get all nice and soft? Beautiful. Let's have a little taste. Now, at any point, you taste it and you feel it's a little bit too sharp for your liking, you can add a little bit more sugar. So don't be afraid. If you want it really sweet, put more sugar in it. If you don't want it too sweet or you like it sharp, then leave it. Okay, now it's just a waiting game. We let that tick over. It's all coming together. The plums are perfect. They've been a couple of minutes. Let's check our pastry. Oh, pastry's good. See, it didn't take long at all. Really, literally, from the time that I put the plums on, the pastry is cooked. And we're just gonna let that sit there to cool down. Now, it's a little bit sort of pillowed up in the middle, but as that cools down, that'll drop. And if it doesn't, we can just push it down with our fingers once it's cooled. But they'll take a few minutes to cool, that's fine. We'll have a look at our plum mixture. Now, that's just about perfect. They've started to break down. And what I like to do, and it's not always necessary, depending on how much liquid comes out of the plum, I like to just thicken it a little bit with corn flour just to stop the sort of juices running out, and it makes it a little bit more sort of jammy. So a little bit of water, a little bit of corn flour, quite literally half a teaspoon. We just make a little kind of slurry like so. And I'm just going to put that into the mixture, stir it around, and that'll just thicken it up ever so slightly, and we take it off. Ta-da! Pour that out. Wow, they really break down quickly. So now we'll pop that into the fridge to chill while our pastry cases cool down. So our plum tarts, all the components are ready. So it's served cold, which is great, nice and easy. So you can do all the work beforehand for your dinner party, and then assemble them and go, wow, blow your guests away. Okay, so these little tart cases are pretty easy. So we pick up the ring and then simply lift out the tart case just to stop it rolling around on a plate. A little bit of the plum on the bottom. You've got to be really careful with the edges, they're quite delicate. Now here's our stewed plums. So we're going to take some of these out and then just fill the tart case with a little of our plum mixture. Now, if you've got a lot of plums, I would just make up a big plum stew. You keep this in a airtight jar in the fridge, And you can have it for breakfast in the morning with yogurt and granola. You can put it on toast, so it's almost like a jam, but hardly any sugar in it. You can put it into like a crumble, if you like, a plum crumble. The possibilities are endless. So it's a really nice, versatile thing to have in the fridge. Now, we're just going to take some creme fraiche, a little dollop on top, like so, and then a wee bit of garnish. I've got some mint tips just in water so they stay nice and pert. I wish I stayed pert in water. I just wrinkle up on top. And then for a little bit of prettiness, all around the edges, bit of icing sugar, and there we have a really elegant, delicate, unlike me, plum tart.